This is the formula right here for solving an equation using quadratic formula. So this is actually the formula. So what it is negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac divided by 2a. Now, what does all of that mean? Well, you have y to the second minus 6y equals 7. But before we can even solve this right here, we have three terms here. We have the y to the second. We have negative 6y equals 7. Now what we're gonna have to do is we're gonna have to take we're gonna take 7 off of both sides here. We're gonna subtract 7 from both sides here. So let's go ahead and rewrite this. I'm gonna have y squared minus 6y, and then I'm gonna go ahead and put in there minus 7 equals 7. And if you see, I'm putting this in the same color. I took negative 7 off both sides. Now, when we rewrite this, if you pay attention, when we rewrite this, it's going to be y to the second minus 6y minus 7 equals what? What's the last thing we'll put over here? Does anybody know? No, 7 minus 7. What goes there? Thank you, 0. So now at this point, now I have my 3 terms. This right here is a 1. This right here is a negative 6. And this right here is a negative 7. So I'm gonna write them over here. I'm gonna write my A, B, and my C. So my A is going to be 1. My B is going to be negative 6. And then my C is going to be negative 7. Okay. And now all I have to do is the formula that we have here. I'm just going to plug in those numbers and I'm going to solve it using this formula right here. That's right here at the top. We're just going to start at the top. We're going to go all the way down. Okay. So the first thing we want to do is go ahead and plug in this B. We know that B is what? What did we say B was? It's negative 6. Okay. So we're just going to put negative 6 plus or minus. Now it's already a negative 6, so that's a double negative. This double negative at the very beginning, this is actually going to be just 6 plus or minus. It's a positive. You follow me? Anytime you have a double negative, you're going to set that up. And so then we have the square root, and then once again we got negative 6 squared. And I always put this in a different color because these are like 2 different entities. I don't want you to confuse and think this is negative 4 here. You're gonna get the answer on this side, you're gonna get the answer on this side, and then once you get those answers, then you're gonna subtract the 2 numbers at the very end. So those are 2 different entities. Okay, let's keep it moving. Now we have the 4, A, and the C. So let's go ahead and write that. We have 4. And then if you got letters right next to each other, what does that mean you do with those 2 letters? You're multiplying those 2 numbers. We're going to plug those answers in. What is A? 1. 1. Yeah, thank you. It is 1. So we're going to put a 1 in there. And what is C? Okay. So C we said was negative 7. So we'll go ahead and put the negative 7 in there. Now let's keep our problem moving. We have 6 plus or minus the square root. Now, what is 6 squared? What is that? 36. Yeah, it is 36. And then we have this subtraction sign. I'll put it in a different color because you want to make sure you don't confuse it. Now, then we have a 4 times negative 7 is what? Pay attention. 4 times negative 7 is what? Thank you. Negative 28. Yeah, this is no time to fall asleep or play. Okay, now these 2 numbers right here, what do we do with those? The double negatives now.
Where's the double negative?
There's a negative 28. When you multiply the 4 and the negative 7, that gave you negative 28. And remember, we already had this negative. Now these 2 come into play. You have to add those 2, correct? So add 36 and 28 and tell me what you get, just so I don't have to waste a line here. Okay, so we got 64. So you have 66 plus the square root of 64. And remember, look right here at the bottom. I just do this at the very end. You see where it says 2a? I'm gonna bring that in now because we look like I'm almost gonna be finished with my problem. Okay, 6 plus, what is the square root of 64? 8. So 6 plus 8 divided by 2, which is what? What is 6 plus 8?
14.
What is 14 divided by 2?
7.
Okay, so we have 7. And remember, you're gonna have two different answers. We have this right here is 6 plus, right? So we know that's gonna be 7. So x is equal to 7. That's one of your answers. But we also have to do, because remember our formula says b plus or minus. So we've already did plus. Okay, then right here we have 6 minus 8 divided by 2. So what would that be? 6 minus 8 divided by 2. What is 6 minus 8? You have a positive 6 and a negative 8.
Negative 2.
Thank you, negative 2. So I have negative 2 divided by 2 is going to be what? Thank you. So x equals negative 1. And so your final answer, see, when you're doing quadratics, you actually have two different parts, two different answers here. You got here, which is x is 7, and also x equals negative 1. And that's how we would do that one.
Oh, wow. So you know where you added the 36 and negative 28?
Yes.
Yeah, I feel like, why did we add those?
Because when you have double negatives that are between two numbers, you always got to add those together. That's a rule. Remember, like when we're doing integers, and we have to do those double negatives, you got to make them positive. All right, let's go on to our next example. Okay, so this one right here is going to be 6x squared minus 17x plus 12 equals 0. Now, when you have a problem like this, it's already zeroed out for you. So you already know what your three terms are going to be. So for those who've been paying attention, what is my A?
It's 6.
Okay, 6. Yes, right here, 6. Okay, what is my B? Negative 17. Yes, negative 17 is right here. And what is my C?
12.
Okay, it is 12. Okay, so now let's go ahead and let's work from the formula itself, and let's plug in the right answers we're looking for. Okay, so for the first thing we want to do is go ahead and put the B. We know B is negative 17, and once again, it's a negative 17 plus or minus the square root of 17 squared. And then remember this minus, I'm gonna put it in a different color because it's kind of a separate entity until the end. And then right up here, we're gonna have 4 times A times C. And what is A and C?
12.
Okay, so A is 6, and then what is C? 12. Okay, so let's keep this moving. Now this double negative here is going to be a positive. So when I rewrite this, I'm just going to leave that out because a positive is the same as nothing there. So it's going to go 17 plus or minus the square root. And can you guys help me out with the sheet you have? What is 17 squared? Okay, 289. Is that what we said? Okay, 289. And then it's going to be minus, put it in a different color. Now, what is 4 times 6? Remember, this is why I'm telling you it's separate entity, because some people make a mistake and they go, oh, negative 4 times a positive 6 is negative 24. No, this is separate. You do this at the very end. That's why I made that different color. So 4 times 6 is what? Okay, so we have 24. 24 times 12. Can someone do that really quickly so we don't have to waste room? We'll find out what that is. 24 times 12. Okay, 288. Okay, so now when we write this out, we're almost to our finish line. We're gonna have two separate answers, right? We're gonna have 17 plus the square root of 1 divided by 2a. What does 2a mean? That means 2 times a. What is 2 times a?
12.
12, right? Because a is 6, so that's 12. Okay. And actually, we don't put the square root sign there because we already said it. So this is actually the square root of 289 minus 28. That's going to be 1, and so we just put the 1 there. And then on this side we have 17 minus 1 divided by 2. Okay. So can we figure out what both of these are? Okay, we got 17 plus 1. What is that?
18.
Okay, so let's go ahead and write that down. We have 18 over 12. And we can simplify that. So let's leave that there for a second. What is 17 minus 1?
16.
So we have 16. Oh, this is supposed to be 12, right? Over 12. Now we can still have to simplify both of these. So what is our greatest common factor of 18 and 12?
4.
Okay, so she said 4. 4 goes into 18. No, it doesn't. What's our greatest common factor of 18 and 12? Is 2 our highest one? You sure?
2.
6. Someone said 6. Would 6 be it? Would you agree? You agree 6 is going to be it?
Yeah.
Okay. So she used a big old 6. 6 times what is 18?
3.
Okay. 6 times what is 12? 2. Okay. So we have one of our answers here already. Right here. We simplified it. So this is one of our answers, right? Let's do the same thing over here. What is our greatest common factor of 16 and 12?
4.
Okay. So 4. She said 4. Hold on a second. Oh. 4 times what is 16?
4.
Okay. And then 4 times what is 12?
3.
3. Okay, so you have both your answers here. Right here. Here's your answer. And when you would have as your answer, you would put x is 3/2, and then you also put x is 4/3. All right, so here we go. This particular one right here, this particular challenge right here, the first thing you want to do, is look at your formula and just plug in the particular answers for your formula. So this particular one right here, we know that the first thing we want to do is we're going to have to take 17 off of both sides to be able to zero this out so we can find out our 3 terms. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to rewrite the problem here. X squared plus 2x minus 7. But we're going to take 17. We're going to add 17, to both sides. Okay, if we do that, it's going to be x squared plus 2x. Now, these two are like terms on the same side here. So if they're like terms on the same side, we want to make them 1. So we make that negative 24 equals, and we know that's going to be 0. Now we have our 3 terms here that we're looking for. We have, this is going to be a 1. This right here is going to be a 2. And then we have a negative 24. So I'm going to write them over here to the right here. I'll put 1 here. And it's good to put them right here to the side because you can always use them as reference as you're doing your problem. So we have 1, then we have a 2, and then we have negative 24. Then we're going to rewrite the formula here. Now the formula says negative b plus or minus. And so we know that b is 2. So I'm going to put negative 2 plus or minus the square root. And once again, b is 2. So we're going to put 2 squared And then I'm gonna I always put this in a different color to let you know these are two different entities, minus 4 times A times C. We know that A is 1. We can see right here, so we put a 1 there. We know that C is a negative 24, so we put a negative 24 there. Okay, now at this point, we keep our problem moving, negative 2 plus or minus the square root of, 2 squared, we know that's gonna be 4. And then remember, we're gonna go ahead and put the minus there. We're gonna make it a different color so we know that's a separate entity. And then we're gonna go ahead and keep writing the rest of the problem. We have 4 times 1, we know it's 4. And then 4 times negative 24 is actually 96. So that's gonna be negative 96. Okay, now at this point right here, everything that you see, we have negative 2 plus or minus the square root. And this is a 4 minus 96. This is double negatives. We got to make that a positive, and we have to add those two together. So that'll be 100 divided by 2, because 2 times A is 2 times 1, right? And so let's keep the problem going. We have negative 2 plus what a square root of 100, we know is 10, divided by 2. So this is going to be one of our answers here. So we have a negative 2 and a 10. Those two signs are different. We must subtract. We get an 8 over 2, which is the same as x is equal to 4. We're going to do the same thing on this side, but instead of negative 2 plus 10, it's going to be negative 2 minus 10. Because remember our original problem here, if you look where I'm circling here, plus or minus. We have to do plus or minus. We already did the plus, now we're doing the minus. So negative 2 minus 10 divided by 2. These two signs are the same, so we must add those together. We get a negative 12 over 2, which we know x is equal to negative 6. And so these are our two answers. If you got those two correct, give yourself a round of applause. The first thing we want to do is go ahead and find out our A, B, and C. And on this one right here, it's already zeroed out. So we know what our A, B, and C is. And so our A would be, you guys can respond. A is going to be 1. Okay. B is going to be what? Negative 3. And C is what? Okay, negative 70. Okay. Now, at this point, we want to do is we want to go ahead and we're going to start from the formula and just plug in our answers. So we have B is negative 3. So we're going to go negative 3 plus or minus the square root. And once again, B, that's 3 squared. And then I'll make this a different color because you have a subtraction sign that's kind of separate. And then after that, we have 4 times A times C. Now, what was A?
1.
Okay, so A was 1. And what was C?
70.
Negative 70. Okay, now remember this double negative became what? So just rewrite it as 3 plus or minus. Plus or minus the square root. And what is 3 squared? 9. Then we have in a different color, I have the little minus symbol there. And what is 4 times negative 70?
Negative 280.
Negative what?
Negative 280.
Okay, negative 280. Okay, so now I have 3 plus the square root of, now these two right here, we must add those, right? So what is that gonna be?
No.
200 and what?
89.
89, right? Are we adding these two? This is 9 plus 280, right? 289. Okay. And so now we have 3 plus, and what is the square root of 289?
17.
Okay, it is 17 divided by 2, right? Because it's 2a is 2 times 1, right? These two right here, and that's a 1, so that's just going to be 2. So 3 plus 17 is what?
20.
Okay, 20 divided by 2 is what?
10.
Yes, so one of our answers is going to be 10. Okay, x is equal to 10. And so we went 3 plus 17 divided by 2. Now, what is the opposite of that? It's 3 minus 17 divided by 2, which would be what? Negative 14 divided by 2, which is what? Negative 7. And so these are your two answers right here. So if you got 10 and negative 7, give yourself a round of applause. That's good.